care. Find out why they've been first every time for over 70 years by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
And this is the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and as we do this next interview on a Monday, it's supposed to be a quite beautiful day outside, so if you're someone who thinks about gardening, this might feel a little bit like gardening weather. And it's quite fitting now that I have the master gardeners with me in studio this morning. And to my left, I'll introduce each of them one at a time. To my left, I've got Gwen Podesky. Gwen, thanks for coming on.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing just fine on this beautiful Monday. And then to my right, I have Linda Smith. Linda, good to talk to you for the first time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good to have you both in this morning. So I'll tell you what, we're getting into March, and I know for the two of you, and I'm sure for a lot of gardeners, there's a lot to be thinking about at this time of the year. I know we were talking a little bit before we got on about doing some cleaning, right? Making sure those gardens look good. What do you have to share for the gardening enthusiasts and the gardening curious out there?
Well, right now is a perfect time with the weather getting a little warmer, and we haven't had a lot of growth in your flower beds yet. Get out there and get rid of last year's growth, and whether it's a garden or your flower beds, now's a perfect time to get out and clean them up, remulch them, stir that mulch up a little bit.
Right. You may still have a little bit of time to send off a soil sample to the labs if you would like to know what your soil might need to improve your produce and make your flowers and things look great. But there are some things you can still do. There's some pruning. I was pruning on hydrangeas this week. I know hydrangeas are not something that generally tend to need heavy pruning, but I like to keep them within size and remove the old flowers. And of course, with an Annabelle hydrangea, that one can go to the ground now. You can take that down to the ground. It always blooms on new wood, and you'll just be doing yourself a favor if you do that. So there's a lot of, like I said, clean within reason. We've still got a lot of insects probably yet to emerge, both the good, the bad, and the just ugly. But it's still clean within reason, because if you've got like I've got a lot of spring bulbs in my flower beds, and it's really hard to clean around daffodils and tulips that are just coming up. So get out there and sort of and start to kind of take an inventory of what's going and what's what you might want to do. There's maybe a chance. Speaking of hydrangeas, one of mine, I always knew it was sort of not healthy. The wind blew it over the other day. I looked over and I thought, well, why is that like that? And it had broken the trunk of it off.
So time to
replace or rethink what that looks like. So yeah.
So a lot to think about in terms of cleaning. You had mentioned, and I know you folks have talked about this before on the show, sending in your soil sample. So if folks are interested in doing that, how would they send it in?
Well, the fall is really the perfect time to do that.
Fall is a good time.
If you haven't, you can still do it.
Right.
Now.
And you can go to FS and pick up you usually get like little sack, and it will give you the instructions on how to go out and measure and how much soil to put in. And then you take it back to them. And I think the fee, last time I checked, was $19.
Something like that.
I think that's
and they
right.
send it off to a KSI lab in Shelbyville. And it's a certified lab, and you'll get the results back. And then some people have a little bit of trouble interpreting what the results are. So you can talk to FS, you can talk to the extension horticultural educator, and they can interpret it and tell you what you need on your ground. But now is a great time to do that. And it's a very simple process. You take a plastic bucket and you take samples from various parts of your garden or lawn or whatever you're trying to do, label them as to where they are, and then mix it all up, one sample at a time, mix it up. And then you put a cup in each of these bags that you want to sample and send them off. And that'll tell you, do you need more lime? Do you need, whatever you need to amend your soil with to get it ready for gardening, especially as for gardening, vegetable gardens and things like that.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind if you're looking at that, a way to send in your soil for testing. Now, you folks might have mentioned this earlier, and maybe I got lost within it amid everything else you were talking about. You were talking before we got on about pollinators and maybe getting some of those in the ground right about now. What do you have to add about that?
Okay, well, we've got, the pollinators that are Illinois natives, and I was just at a workshop this year on last week on pollinating. There are 500 plus species of bees in Illinois. So they're not just all bumblebees, carpenter bees, and honeybees. But and there are also a lot of solitary flies that do a fair bit of pollinating. So one of the ways they were telling us, I think this was interesting to tell the difference if you've got a fly or a wasp, is wasps and bees have long antenna and flies have relatively short antenna. So I had a syrphid fly or a hover fly out the other day, just kind of hanging out. But this is a good time to kind of start thinking about those 500 species of bees in Illinois are specific to most of the native plants. The native plants, you will get a lot of pollination, and sometimes it's good to do things like plant zinnias with your vegetable garden, because that will bring in butterflies. It will bring in a variety of pollinators that will help the plants with cross pollination. But always those workshops are interesting because you get to learn about how these guys, the bees have specialized little storage sacks for the pollen on their back legs, which if you've ever watched one, that's kind of like just about, you wonder how they still fly because they're just loaded down.
Yeah. No, that is crazy. It kind of reminds me of like football players. You see the fanny packs on them,
right?
And they wear that. But no, I had actually not thought about like planting other like non-vegetable plants in the vegetable garden.
Oh yeah, that's companion planting. We do some of that. There are things like nasturtiums and marigolds and things that either help with pest control or help with pollination. I was always told in the old days, I don't know, to plant petunias near your green beans.
Is that right?
But those are, yeah. And the funny thing is if you're looking for letting your garden go more toward the native plants, there is a website called the Native Plant Finder. You can just Google that and you put in your zip code. For us, that would be 62568, and see what the native plants are that would be likely growing in your area. And you can kind of, pick and choose from that.
Nice. So
I've got, let's see, where's that I've got a catalog, just a second. Oh, Prairie Moon Nursery. This is a native plant source for folks.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, there's another option right there in that catalog. So let's see, Linda, you were mentioning earlier, you were talking about burning asparagus. Talk about that and why now?
Right now is a perfect time to do that. And basically, it's to get rid of all of the ferns that died last fall. And that's the thing about asparagus. You want to let those ferns grow through the winter. They store energy, and they'll keep that energy until the spring. And so in the spring, now it's time, they're no good anymore. You can go in and I burn it off, which is the first step. And that kills all of the bacteria, the larvae from insects that have been in there before, the harmful insects. And then once you get it burned off, then I mow it. I come out black, but that's the way it is. But we have a fairly large patch. But if you have a small patch, same thing. Just take your lawnmower over the top of it, and you're ready to go for the next year. And we put a herbicide on. We have maybe 3/4 of an acre, which is a lot. And I'm feeling that the older I get. We've been doing that for about 45 years now. So, but it's now my job. And so getting out there this time of year, preparing that ground for asparagus. And in all those years we've been doing it, I would say April 15th is, you can count on it 95% of the time. It'll be ready and up. So, but it can come early if you have a nice warm spell like we've got, and it lasts for a week or two. It'll be popping out of the ground because it's all driven by the ground temperature.
And asparagus is one of the very few vegetables that are actually a true perennial. When's a good time to plant asparagus, Linda?
In the spring.
In the spring. Okay.
Yeah,
So this would be the time to,
right.
And you plant, you don't go from seed, I guess.
Right.
But you use the roots.
Well, they're crowns.
They're crowns.
Called crowns.
Right.
And put them out in the ground. And, that's a fairly simple process to do. And people kind of get a little apprehensive about doing that. But, the trenches are 12 inches wide, 12 to 14 inches wide, and about 12 inches deep. And you put the crowns down in there, cover them up, and then 2 weeks later, put an inch of soil on top, and you just keep doing that through the first season. And most of the crowns that people buy now would be 2 or 3 year crowns, which means that if you plant this year, next year you can only pick for 2 weeks out of the year. The following year, 4 weeks, and then you're good to go for the rest of the time. And it's a perennial that will last. Like you said, Gwen, it'll last 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have seen asparagus growing in places that I know nobody planted it.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody planted it, but it was decades ago.
Right.
So
birds carry the seeds. Although now what you buy mostly for crowns are, they're male. And so you just plant male varieties, and they're more aggressive and they produce more. And so, that's what you're going to get. Back in the day, long time ago, they were half female, half male. Yeah. And you didn't quite get the production that you get now, but it's just the way the technology, the gene pool has been changed to do that. So
and those things can evolve. I'm talking with Gwen Podesky and Linda Smith, some of the master gardeners with the University of Illinois Extension. Let's take a break. There's a workshop coming up that I'd love to hear from you two about, and we'll talk about that later on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Here's Cousin Bill from Illinois Paving.
Driveway problems? Are you tired of wasting money on the cheap fix that never lasts for your driveway? If you want your driveway fixed correctly and you're looking for the best bang for your buck, not just a cheap overnight fix, call Cousin Bill at Illinois Paving. We're not always the cheapest, but we feel like the extra money you pay is going into your driveway and not just our pocket. If you want the best bang for your buck and extra material in your driveway, call Cousin Bill at Illinois Paving. 788-7777.
Great news, Christian County. The Christian County Health Department is now offering lab draws for patients. That's right. Getting your blood work and similar tests done is now easier and more affordable than ever. This new service helps you get the tests you need at a lower cost than many doctors' offices. Just stop by 730 North Pawnee Street or give them a call to schedule your appointment at 217-824-4113. That's 824-4113. Your Christian County Health Department, always working for a brighter, healthier future.
Hello, I'm Will Perkins, the new owner of Taylorville Home Source. I'm committed to continuing the local service you've always counted on, along with the same great flooring options, kitchen cabinets, shower systems, and design expertise that Taylorville Home Source is known for. Stop by 1316 East Park, online at TaylorvilleHomesource.com, or via phone at 217-824-6121. Taylorville Home Source, your one source local design center.
Hi, this is Matt Corso, Realtor and Auctioneer with Kaufman Realty and Auctions. Looking to buy or sell? We have an exciting lineup of auctions featuring vehicles, complete estates, gold, and fine jewelry. Plus, we always have premier real estate listings ready for you. Whether you're downsizing or investing, trust our team to help you get the top market value. Visit KaufmanAuctionsil.com today to see what's on the block.
It's tax time and your refund goes farther at Landmark at Taylorville, your Chevy, Buick, and GMC headquarters. This is Bill Pinkston, General Sales Manager. Drive home in style, power, and reliability with huge savings on our full lineup of trucks and SUVs. Bring in your tax return and let one of my leprechauns maximize your budget. Plus, with over 400 pre-owned vehicles in our family dealerships and our lifetime powertrain warranty, why would you buy anywhere else? All roads lead to Landmark at Taylorville. And remember,
You always do better at Landmark.
With over 8 hours a day of agriculture programming weekdays and 2 hours on Saturdays, WTIM AM, FM, and online is your ag information station. Listen by tuning in on air or online and listen to WTIM Ag podcasts anytime.
Here's Dr. Pavi Gill from Springfield Clinic, Taylorville.
Lifestyle medicine is about motivating you to improve your quality of life by changing habits and behaviors.
Find out more by clicking Dr. Gill's icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM.
And welcome back. You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kami, and I continue my conversation with Master Gardeners at the University of Illinois Extension, Gwen Podesky and Linda Smith. Now, I understand there is a fruit tree grafting workshop coming up. That sounds really interesting. I like fruits. What should folks know about that?
Well, the program is going to be held on March 28th. And
Which
there
is
is
a Saturday
from 10 to 12. So it's a good timing. And hopefully, if you're interested in that, it'll be a great opportunity to learn how to graft fruit trees. And there's really a science to that. There's an art to it. And there's lots of techniques that people need to know if they're going to graft fruit trees. And especially if they've got existing stock on their property. But there is a $30 registration fee. But the good thing is you walk away with 2 grafted trees
that you've worked on. So they will provide the root stock, which usually the root stock is used. It's either more hardy or it is being used to determine the size of the plant,
the height,
the size of the tree for the most part, because the tree will grow as high as the root stock is, but it has to be compatible. So it'll be some sort of a crab. Usually, I think for apple trees, for instance, it's crabapple root stock, and then you put the scion wood, which is the slip that is the tree you want it to grow. Apples and most, I think, other tree fruits do not come true from seeds. So any apple tree, any apple that you cut open, every one of those seeds could produce a slightly different. So most of these things are cloned basically or cut off. And then they use that to do the grafting.
Okay, nice. And then how do folks register for the class?
Go online and you can go to the U of I Extension website, which Gwen, you'll have to refresh my memory to get the CJMM at the end.
Right. It's actually, I think you could just go in and go to go.illinois.edu/tree grafting.
Okay.
And
Makes it
all
simple.
one word. Right. Or you can call 217-532-3941. And the workshop itself will be held at One Industrial Park in Hillsboro.
Okay.
So that's kind of where they can go. If you happen to find a flyer, I know that our local extension office has got the flyers and they can.
There's the camera. If you want to show it to the folks on the live screen. Yeah, there
okay,
it is.
there's the little square so they can do that as well.
Oh, yeah, the QR code.
QR code.
No, nice. So you've got that. You've got the flyer, some ways to sign up. We got about a minute left, and you said folks were going to go home with a grafted fruit tree. How big is it? Is it like
Probably
it's
something
small.
like that.
Yeah,
it's
Like a little whip.
Yeah, it's going to be like a little whip, which and at that point, then you're going to need to figure out how to protect it from the rabbits and the deer and those things. But that'll be a part of your learning experience with growing fruit.
Yeah.
And they'll teach you how to plant it when you get home, how
Right.
deep to plant it and to protect it. And,
Right.
And but if a great way to learn, and then you can do that every year with your stock at home.
Yeah.
So.
And for those of you listening on the radio, that was about a foot to a foot and a half high.
I think so. I don't think it's very much bigger than that.
Gwen
so.
Podesky, Linda Smith, Master Gardeners with the University of Illinois Extension. Gwen and Linda, thank you again for coming in.
Thank you.
And you are listening to the WTIM morning show on your information station. We'll have another conversation in about 10 minutes, so please stay tuned.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A potential new target for the U.S. and Israel, Iran has a new supreme leader, replacing the previous